You'll never guess how Johnny Depp was exposed by one of his co-stars. Like all the other celebrities on this list, he was called out for his rude, entitled, and obnoxious behavior on set. Top 10 celebrities who expose their rude co-stars. Celebrities are just like us, sometimes they don't get along with their co-stars on set. They can be demeaning and completely entitled. So let's look at the top 10 celebrities who expose their rude co-stars. First up we have Johnny Depp. Recently, one of Johnny Depp's past co-stars, Lola from the film Blow, came forward speaking about an incident where Johnny mistreated her on set, where he was angry and swearing, and he said some horrible things to her. Then there was a time when he was filming City of Lies when he got into a massive fight with the location manager of the shoot. He allegedly screamed at him and berated him in front of a full set of people, until Johnny's own bodyguards physically removed him from the scene. Yeah, this is not a good look for him. Johnny should have been the one who left Hollywood, not Amber Heard. Moving on to Lea Michele. Many people have spoken out against Lea Michele, but today we're going to talk about the time that Naya Rivera did not hold back when it came to dishing on her issues with her Glee co-star. This all happened in her tell-all 2016 book Sorry Not Sorry: Dreams, Mistakes, and Growing Up. Naya claimed that their friendship started to break down because her character started getting bigger plot lines and more screen time. Naya said Lea didn't like sharing a spotlight, which isn't that surprising. She claimed things got so bad between the two of them that they were barely speaking by the end of her time on the show. One of the writers of Glee once said that Lea and I were like two sides of the same battery. She also wrote, "We are both strong-willed, competitive, and not just with each other but with everyone, and that is not a good mix." Then in 2020, former Glee co-star Samantha Ware accused Lea of traumatic microaggressions that made her experience on the show a living hell. Angelica Ross was featured on AHS, but she had a horrible experience with her fellow actor Emma on set. Last year, Angelica provided screenshots of emails and detailed accounts of conversations with Ryan Murphy as he abruptly stopped communicating, during which no one in his company, Ryan Murphy Productions, would offer her any information about her status within the AHS franchise. Angelica then claimed that Emma could be a bullying presence on set, once going so far as to misgender her in front of a director. Angelica, who is trans, first spoke out about the alleged incident during an Instagram live. She said that she feared retaliation if she actually reported the incident, and she admitted that she no longer spoke to Emma after the alleged on-set encounter. Moving on to Tim Allen. Actress Casey Wilson opened up about her disappointing experience working with Tim in the Santa Clauses. She said it was truly the worst experience I've ever had with a co-star ever. Remembering one moment, she said Tim once finished a scene, then went to a producer to talk about her acting. He goes over to the producer, who was standing 4 feet from me, and goes, and I hear him, he says, "You have to tell her to stop stepping on my lines." The producer then turns to her with horror on his face, and he has to walk 1 foot to her, and he goes, Tim would ask you to stop stepping on his lines." She said everyone was walking on eggshells around him on set. When he was done, he was so effing rude. He never made eye contact and never said anything. It was really uncomfortable. Next up we have Chevy Chase. Chevy has garnered a reputation for being extremely difficult to work with, as there are now countless accounts about him being disrespectful to his co-workers. He starred in the show Community and he ruffled a lot of feathers on set, which resulted in his character eventually being killed off. He made a deal, aka got fired, with NBC to get him to leave the show following his use of a racial slur during an on-set rant about his character arc, which eventually resulted in him straight up walking off set. Chevy also never had a good relationship with the showrunner Dan Harmon. After he refused to film an important scene in season 3, Dan reportedly called him out at the wrap party. Chevy then left an angry voicemail on the showrunner's phone. And because of that, his character was seen no more, and that was that. Then there was his time on SNL. He was on Saturday Night Live for 2 years, and after leaving, he came on to host the show 8 times. But his 8th time hosting the show would be his last, after it was learned that Chevy hit cast member Sherry in the back of the head. Creator and producer Lorne Michaels then ended up banning Chevy from coming back on the show, but eventually he did return for some smaller roles. After hosting SNL in 1991, Steven was banned from the show by producer Lorne because he was difficult to work with. He generally acted like a prima donna in the week leading up to air, alienating himself from the show's cast and just being an all-round jerk. Those transgressions might have been forgiven if the actor had delivered anything other than the biggest train wreck in SNL's storied history. While they never got too specific, the crew admitted they did not like working with the martial artist and even found him annoying. The show's cast and crew were on the edge and almost ran an entire show without a host. But they stuck to it and they would ban Steven right after he was done. In fact, the episode was so terrible that NBC had done all it legally can do to ensure that no one ever lays eyes on it again. No clips can be found on the network's website, for example, and the entire episode was omitted when the season was released to Netflix. Yikes. Moving on to Charlie Sheen. It's well known that Charlie has addiction problems which led to many public meltdowns, but the actor really sabotaged his own career after leaving the hit sitcom under the worst circumstances possible. If you didn't know, he was fired from 2.5 Men in 2011 after making derogatory comments about the show's creator Chuck Lorre, and from then on, things went from bad to worse. At that point, Charlie was the highest paid actor on television, making $1.8 million per episode. But he claimed that he was being underpaid and he publicly demanded a 50% pay rise. Now, this is the most entitled thing I have ever heard. He was then rightfully fired and Ashton Kutcher was then hired to be the replacement of Charlie on the show. Charlie then went on to multiple news shows to be interviewed. These interviews were filled with weird rants, including him stating that he had a tiger blood and that he was #winning. Next up, we have Thomas Gibson. Thomas had a great television run, but it was all brought down after he was fired from the hit show Criminal Minds. In early August of 2016, Thomas was suspended from Criminal Minds due to an on-set physical altercation with one of the show's writers/producers. It is rumored that he kicked them due to a line of dialogue that he thought did not make sense, which isn't the appropriate reaction, of course. He was suspended and then later he was fired from the show. Now, this wasn't his first incident on the show though, as he allegedly shoved an assistant director and then got into a verbal altercation. After that, he went to mandatory anger management counseling, but it seems like the counseling didn't help because then he continued those patterns, which ultimately got him fired. Due to this, he hasn't had an acting gig in quite a while, which is a shame because he is definitely talented, but no one wants to deal with him behind the camera because of his temper. Moving on to Shannon Doherty. Shannon's breakout role was in the 90s drama Beverly Hills 90210, but while she was there, she earned a reputation as a difficult actress. Her co-star Jason Priestley described her diva-like behavior in his book. He said that she even complained when a publicist had a town car pick her up instead of a limo. Producer Aaron Spelling characterized her in a slightly more sympathetic light, telling People magazine that she is a very honest person who wears her emotions on her sleeve. And if you ask her a direct question, she'll give you a direct answer. But it seems like her co-stars did not appreciate her honesty. As it was revealed in Lifetime's The Unauthorized Beverly Hills 90210 story, Shannon's co-workers voted her off the show, and then the character moved to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London and never returned. Moving on to Edward Norton. It was said that Edward doesn't work well with others and was instead replaced by Mark Ruffalo. After his departure, Marvel Studios' president released a statement hinting at a lack of collaborative spirit on Edward's part, saying, "We have made the decision not to bring Ed Norton back to portray the title role of Bruce Banner in the Avengers. Our decision is definitely not one based on monetary factors, but instead it's rooted in the need for an actor who embodies creativity and collaborative spirit of our other talented cast members. The Avengers demands players who thrive working as a part of an ensemble, as evidenced by Robert, Chris H., Chris E., Sam, Scarlett, and all of our talented cast. We're looking to announce a named actor who fulfills these requirements and is passionate about the iconic role in the upcoming weeks. With something as big as the MCU, which is literally an ensemble franchise, I think they made the right call. But how can you be an actor and not work well with others? That just does not make any sense." Well, that's it for part 2 of our list of the top 10 celebrities who expose their rude co-stars. Let us know what you think in the comments below.